And welcome back, everybody, to Lions versus Drake. The Vondel battles. Game 3 is finally underway, and I can't wait to get started. I'm Taylor Reflections Noble, joined by Spaceman. We talked a lot about Game 3 and how it was going to play, meta shifting, who's changing it up. Will we continue to see teams get more and more aggressive? Well, we're going to have all those answers here shortly, but as far as right now, Huskerrs on your screen, the winner from Game number 2. Space, things seem to be a bit quiet, but that's great because he could get looted up.
Yeah, the big thing now is just making that stretch into the end of potentially this Game 3, right? You want to play for placements here for a lot of squads. Yes, the early race was about the eliminations. Now, about getting those multipliers to stack you up for the late game haul when we're talking 4, 5, and 6 for our final couple of matches. It's going to be really tough to continue to rack up those eliminations. We're getting towards the end of our bell curve here, so we're going to see a plateau in this game of potentially like 15 to 20. I expect the range to be for some of our top teams, but for now, you just want to focus on getting your kits early on.
Right, get your kits early on. And, you know, you can hot drop. Hot dropping is cool, but you just put yourself at risk of dropping off a little bit too early, as you said, and never a good thing to do. And we know what Huskerrs wants. He wants that Signal 50, which we saw him use a little bit earlier. Vortex down. And that's a heavy hitter for sure. Lula now trying to stay up with Blade. This trio is the winners from Game number 1. We saw how happy Lula was after the victory and scouting out the horizons. Luckily, a loadout drop, though, does come in. We got the UAV up in the air, and this is a great opportunity now to get kitted up and good to go. There's going to be a player low. Lula's ready.
And they're still in first place, so this is a very big game for this trio specifically. Right. Holding on to it barely, though. Just a couple of points. You're talking, again, 2, 3 eliminations, maybe a late game push, and you're already looking at second, third with Huskerrs at 5th, working his way up. But you're going to have to worry about those pickups, and you'll find it nicely done. Quick shots and a quick trade, just putting more numbers on the board.
Up we go. Taking down Brax. Will that trio now come back for revenge? It's possible. For the time being, though, lots of money on their side. UAVs popping non-stop. That's going to be a constant theme here. Normally, you want to spend your money on loadout drops. You want to try and get your loadout as quickly as possible, right? Maybe go for the revives. But after that, here on Resurgence, with constant respawns, UAVs, they are going to be bountiful. They are going to be huge, along with the PAs, as we discussed, as well as the mortar strikes. And Lula is at least thinking somebody's going to be out there in the water. A bit of a mark. Notice how separated she is, though, from Blade and Vortex. We talked about that being beneficial space, but she could be just absolutely swarmed on, and there are going to be people, I believe 2 or 3, by the buy station blower.
Yeah, and this is high risk, high reward. We talk about when you start seeing that separation, whether or not it's playstyles or cadence differences for a lot of these trios, and specifically in Game 3, this is where it happens, right? Early game, trying to make sure you pick up eliminations left and right, working on your back end, making sure it's clear. And from there, you could start to funnel on in as a trio using the Semtex, trying to flush. I don't think it's going to pick up the elimination. It will not, regardless. Damage is done. Sage will fall. But with all that being said and everything else being even, again, you still have plenty of opportunities to get back into the fight. But for the moment, it's been the high ground, really, for Breadman that's been working.
That's right, Breadman. I can't say what he was saying, but he was talking some trash in the general chat, and I was loving every bit of it. They're all having fun. They're happy to be here. All the competitors are, and it's great to see because they're playing a game that they love. I mean, every day, man, they're just competing and talk about living the dream for sure. Breadman going a little bit lower. This is a bit of an open area, so this fight here is going to be a lot different than the other fights we've been seeing consistently in the buildings. But for Breadman, he's ready. Quick scope out, doesn't connect. He's disengaged.
And of course, Blacides was the sub to the sub for this trio, so we had a couple of changes for the roster, but hey, listen, if everything else is working, you just take what you get. Blast, of course, a phenomenal player in Warzone. Everybody knows him from his former professional days. A lot of former professional players having similar success in Warzone. And again, it helps with the shots, helps with the communication for sure, but this is a team that's very vibe heavy, right? If they're feeling the groove, they're feeling like they're in click and they're able to find kills left and right, they're going to start making a lot of pushes to the late game. It's not a trio you want to run up against.
No, not at all. I mean, and plus they got the honeymoon phase going on at the moment. You know, some that are filling in for this roster, this might be the only week that they're able to compete once the others fill in, right? The other normal duo or the other two that's not here today. So they're going to make at least the best of it. I definitely would, especially with $20,000 total on the line. We go back to where the river is and just can't get away. That's an elimination. Z Colors has been so good at being evasive and getting out of dodge, staying alive so his teammates can get back into play. But Z Colors roster is now out, and that is a trio that is definitely heavy hitting. They're going to have to wait for Game 4.
That's a really tough one because, again, this is just about securing your spot in the bracket for what should be a tense 4, 5, and 6 games coming up. That's a really difficult spot to drop down in. Early game as well. We're not even talking about the last 30 or so players. Like, we're still at 19 squads right now. Reflections, that is not a position you want to be in.
Not at all. First squad eliminated, right? Always a terrible feeling. You're not getting the multiplier. You're missing out on eliminations that you could be obviously getting points. And two, like, we'll be showing it later. I mean, we do have 2 teams competing against each other. The Lion versus the Drakes. There's 10 teams on each side. Every game counts, and you want to be the team that's winning so you can play the 5th and final day of this broadcast, right? So you can earn some additional money. So there's a lot that goes into it. You have to be focused on not only just yourself, but also your entire team. Now, this is a squad I want to see. Rated, Aydan and co. We haven't seen too much of them because they've been dropping off a little bit earlier. I thought this game mode would benefit them given the fact that they're an aggressive roster, but I've got a feeling, Space, this could be their game.
And if you're them, you're just kind of shooting for, obviously, top 4 you'd love for the 1.3 kill multiplier, but top 8 is where you want to sit. 1.2 does enough to keep you within the mid-range of these leaderboards, but regardless for this squad, they're going to find the eliminations. Never a question about that. It's just always been surviving maybe the opening onslaught. If they can get through this early game, if they can find, looking at maybe 5 or 6 elims just off of Rated's POV alone, they're going to be primed and ready for a deep run. They have to work through the top side for the moment, using these roofs just to find and scout information to allow Aydan to push up, allow for more opportunities. This is where this team gets deadly.
You know, I've noticed, Space, not a lot of teams really rotate. Where they land is where they land, unless they have to rotate because of the zone. Like, you know, Rated Aydan, Adrian, they probably landed here and they haven't moved. They've just been fighting consistent respawns. So something to consider. Teams, they love to just hunker down and really lock in their POI and their location. Good on Rated. Drops self-revive in. He gets back onto his feet, but now he's at the low ground. But we're going back up top. Business as usual. That could have been a tough spot, but luckily his boys had his back.
Now, Reflections, interesting you say that, because for some of our trios who are known for kill-heavy pushes in games where they rack up 20, 30 elims, they're in a position now where they may not have the opportunity or the luxury to just play off POI on the drop. They might have to start making a move up the map, and as you see, Rated 2 times in a row looking for the peak, will get essentially traded out and flanked with a beautiful nade to clean up that kill. But this is an interesting spot to be in for this duo now, as they'll try to work through the chaos back over to a different POV for the moment. And between these two houses, we'll call them, it is always about just the race for the points, because they are competing against one another.
They are competing against one another, as you said, and I love that point. I mean, again, I just want to reiterate that fact. You know, teams are landing at the POI, they're not moving, but you're right. Teams that are aggressive might need to start venturing out, and that could be the change. We were asking what teams would do to change up their play style. Absolutely, start roaming throughout the map, get aggressive. It's a bit hard to do on this map because you have to then go into buildings and you have to clear those buildings, which is never a comfortable thing to do, but it might become a necessity, especially if you're down the leaderboard outside the top 10. Skullface having a bit of a hard time, dies next to the bridge, I believe the same bridge that he got second place on in just the game prior, so this puts all the pressure now on Scummin and Unrational to stay alive and put in the dirty work.
And we just saw FIFA Kill Company trying to work their way through the middle of the map, so we'll see what happens with them. But for the moment, smokes are out. Does not mean you're going to escape for free. Scummin, dipping and diving, snaking his way through a barrage of gunfights, but he will still find a way to plate back up and still looking for that angle for a cheeky chow, if that might be the case. For the moment, on the outskirts, it is Unrational, so you have a Guardian Angel out on the wing. Whether or not those shots will connect is an entirely different question, but I think he got pinged for another number out there, so that's a gunfight Unrational has to win.
Staying out in the open is a risky thing here. That's one thing Dream brought up to me, is like the Signal 50, it's going to shred you. So it was a bit of a risky play as far as I'm concerned for Scummin, but he was just seeing the battlefield for what it was, and now he's pushing up. And I think we're going to see Unrational and co kind of hang around this water area, but maybe not for long, trying to stay up as Unrational flashed, sliver of health, bullets flying, luckily finds a little bit of respite underneath the bridge, so he's going to be okay. But by the time he surfaces, he's probably going to be taking some more damage. Being in the water, it's risky.
It really is. And again, it comes down to whether or not you can escape thanks to a second third partying the third party. It's like a square root of a third party, but shots continue to ring. Nice shots there. Still, if find a way if they can clean up that elimination. If not, at least you have the information available to you, and you can use this water just as cover, as dangerous as that might be. It gives you an idea of where you need to go and where you can't go, but you really are hoping that your teammates can provide some cover fire as you try to escape back out to regroup. And for the moment, Scumming on your screen is able to find one, make that around, I believe, 5 elims to his name. Looking for the 6th.
Holy fuck.
Looking for the 6, can't get it. He's down. 2 teammates, though, still to carry the torch, if possible. Unrational, down low. This is where things start to get a bit wonky, especially if you don't have a building, you don't have somewhere you can go that's inside the safe zone. Mind you, they're also next to a buy station, so this could be a quite popular area. Switching perspectives, though, a nice elimination coming through. I believe that was... I can't actually tell who that was who was taken down, but regardless, though, rooftop locked in. Good stuff, and that's Almond, like you said.
Yeah, I think, okay, so that was Almond, so he goes down, but you get the revive, so it helps, so numbers are up, cavalry is in, zone pushing, and now you move. And here we go, resurgence disabled. You have to keep your numbers up here. 5 eliminations on the board for the moment. Low in the tank, not a lot of ammo here. Gorgo Knight gonna have to work with what he's got.
I need plates. Does he have anything?
And hey, he doesn't need much to work with it either, man. Gorgo's one of those guys that just absolutely excels at anything competitive. Warzone, a little bit of a gas play, different rooftop to go to, not a bad strat at all. And they're going to be just fine. And they're moving and grooving, man. They're really playing the gatekeeper role. And honestly, with the way that they're rotating space, it wouldn't surprise me if they catch a team off guard, because you wouldn't be expecting a team to be that close to gas coming up behind you. We're seeing the effects of it now.
And they're sticking together, too. They're watching their corners and using each other just as bait, right? Just kind of clearing house by house. Nicely done as well. Feels like an old Call of Duty mission. Just clear house together.
Right.
Work it as you can, but you're also going to have to worry about the tack behind, because, well, you're also stuck in an interesting spot for the moment. I believe this is FIFA Killing Company. As FIFA is down, it'll be left up to this duo to try to bring things back from the brink.
I didn't res. Wait, I just shot
On the brink, like you said. Ooh, okay, a little bit of damage. It's always risky. It's always a bit stressful when all you have is just a bridge and then an open area behind you. But more players go into the water. I cannot believe how much the water is being used. I mean, every single time we go into a perspective, it seems there's always somebody in the water. There's always somebody swimming, and it never really works out, but they continue to try. But if that's your only option, you might as well full send it.
Yeah, it feels like, okay, if we use it to traverse out of a gunfight, sure, but using it as the primary option to engage has been very interesting, to say the least, for today. Somewhere Go just very happy about that. Don't know why. 7 elims on the board. I told him 3 games in a row, 3 dunks, we're going to get moving. But from the ceiling, again, the height advantage, so important, unrational on your screen.
He's going up top.
I feel like they have a player trapped in here, and here comes the pinch.
Where is he? Yo, grab that.
Said the pinch comes. Gorgo. See what he's going to be up to. Very talented. And I believe he's kind of been in a tussle with Unrational and Co. like ever since. Or at least he's been trying to at least keep up with their pacing. I think he's done a good job. Oh, Smixy, though, love this perspective over in the bit of a graveyard position. Takes down one. Smixy last alive. No more respawns. She's going to try and get these finishes as quickly as possible. She understands at this point in time, I need every point that I can possibly get. We're now down to the top 10 trios. And Smixy in such a tough spot. She's got to rotate in. There's water in front of her space. I'll be very impressed if she makes it to the next zone.
Maybe she can just, I mean, like it's an old strat of just, okay, play your life, just try to sneak into the final zone. And maybe that is the call here for her, because again, the information is limited. You know, you got about 20 seconds or so before your back is starting to move. Numbers quickly fall, but you still have a lot to work with here. 23 players still up, not including her. Excuse me, including her. So there's still a lot in front to push through. Only 2 elims. And I think maybe that's the crux here, the takeaway, is that she needs a couple of more eliminations just for the multiplier alone. If you can get within top 8, that's a good place to be.
Without a doubt, top 8 be kind of the magic point that we were talking about during the pre-show. She's going to hug this gas, stay on the edge as long as possible, and honestly, that's the best play. My only concern is once she breaks out of that graveyard, it's just going to be open space. Meanwhile, very different scenario here, right? You got the edges open, but now you're kind of confined to this one room. And you can really tell these guys, right, they're so used to, like, for example, Braxton, they're so used to teams playing the gas, as we were seeing a little bit earlier, that they're looking into the gas, they're looking through those windows. They don't want anybody to surprise them, but I think their goal at the moment is just to stay put as long as possible. Meanwhile, though, everybody is just clamoring for a safe spot inside the zone, a building that they can use, because there's only one building to use, right?
I mean, what, Gorgo's got 7, you got Scumming, I believe, on 6, so a pretty good game 3 out of this team.
Anything, I don't give a fuck what you buy.
You can hear him saying, like, look, we just need anything at this point, right? We're just playing for late game. They understand I think they're around second place at the moment. This is the push for the final time in game 3. Love that. Back to our full strength for the moment.
Back to the
Vortex.
action.
This was your number 1 squad going into game 1. They took home the victory. They stay at number 1 after game 2. Do just enough with the eliminations to help on the multiplier. And they're trying to hold on to their grip here in first place.
First place, like you said, man, and we talked about that in the beginning, and we're like, can they do it? And they're sitting here doing it again. This trio has impressed me so much today, Space. From game number 1 where they took it to now. But much like Smixy a little bit earlier, Vortex, same position, trying to hold the edge of the gas and really just walk through that, walk as slowly as possible. But, I mean, now you got to make a move. Granted.
Uh-oh.
Wait, no. Self-res.
Yeah.
3 self-res with the gun. I think we're going to try and see a little bit of a hill-off. Try and just outlast the zone.
Yeah.
First time we've seen a hill-off used, at least here in Resurgence.
I mean, the problem now, Reflections, is he has no plates. So even with the revive, you're still worried just about the armor alone at the end of this zone.
That is true.
Chaos ensues. You're going to have to hope you have an AR posted up somewhere. Reflections, it's about to get very dicey.
It is about to get dicey indeed. Skullface, Soka, Z-Smith, this trio, so strong, but plates are not abundant here. Z-Smith is the only one with 3. One more in the back pocket, tries to use it, does get it off. A Van, the only coverage he has, checking the air, who's on top of the building. Well, at this point in time, that's who they're going to have to push. Down to 5 trios left.
You guys have turbos. I have nothing.
He's so weak, and this is a risky push to make. If you're out of position, even if you get the elimination, it comes down to 1 push. And here we go.
Nice.
Into the zone, still alive. 1 will wipe.
Nice.
Just 1 bullet's all it takes, and they will finally find it. A little bit anticlimactic, but the numbers were there regardless. Shifty, Biffle, and Sage, one of the most important games they've had to play so far today. We were wondering when they were going to bounce back. Reflections, they do it. 12 elims, 25 in total. That is a ridiculously good game out of this trio.
That's crazy. So we've gone from 19 kills game 1 with Lula. We've gone from 21 kills game number 2 with Huskerrs. And now 25 with Biffle and Co. in game number 3. It just continues to grow. We're getting to that 30 mark. I'm asking, what's the magic number? 30 seems to be where we're going for. And But we also set up the storyline, right, with Biffle and Co. being in second place behind Lula. We saw Lula's team with Vortex staying alive, top 7.